And we are back. It's the Information Week News Desk. I'm Sarah Peters, and this is live coverage of Interrupt ITX. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, and if you have, say so using the hashtag IWNewsDesk. My next guest spoke this morning on creating a path to data-driven smart cities. She is Executive Director of the Johns Hopkins University Center for Government Excellence, Beth Blauer. Beth, thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, thanks for having me. Really happy to be here.
I'm really happy that you are here. So smart cities, there are those that are cities are old that are trying to become smart, and then we have cities like Songdo, South Korea, that are kind of started from scratch and are these dream cities that were smart from the very beginning. And they obviously have a lot of different challenges, a lot of different ways of kind of creating themselves. You've spent some time in Songdo, so tell me, what lessons did you take from that visit?
So Songdo is a city that literally was start from scratch with the dream, sort of realized that it would be a smart city. So everything from the bulk of their housing stock being LEED certified to wider streets to enable space for safe pedestrian use and bicycle use to, no trash cans because they've got pipes that suck your trash down, and so you don't have litter anywhere. So conceptually, it was designed with all of the sort of bells and whistles that we think about when we think about the deployment of the technology side of smart cities. But being on the ground there, it felt like a little dystopian where, it was unclear whether or not people were happy, right? And so it's like, how do you strike the right balance? And this morning in the talk and a lot of the work that I do, I think about the concept of smart cities as a way to have an impact on people's experience in cities and their experience in staying in cities. And are we building the environment so that it's aligned to outcomes that we want to see? We want longer, healthier lives. We want people to have access to opportunities. We want people to be able to live in safe places. We want people to live in healthy places. And certainly the built environment plays a giant role in that. But if you don't start with people and you start with technology or you start with design, I think oftentimes you miss really big chunky lessons that can be brought into the process that allow for people to be engaged in the experience and then for the city itself to be responsive to the needs of the people. So in Songdo, I remember the first morning I got there and there was like a little bit of a mist in the air, but I was like, I'm going to go for a run in Central Park, which was the park right outside the hotel I was staying in. And I saw no other people at 7 a.m. like in this park. And I was like, this is so weird. It's this beautiful park along water. And they had like a bunny island, which was like this sort of contrived island filled with bunnies. And they had a petting zoo and what I realized was that like the pollution is so bad in Songdo, even though the infrastructure built in the city itself isn't producing pollution, but that because of the positioning and the geography of the city, that, pollution from China flows basically over into Korea and settles into the Korean cities. And so the way that the park was designed is sort of like the epicenter settling of a lot of that pollution. And so I realized, not only did I realize like, oh, this may be a reason why, it was when I got back to the hotel and was like having difficulty breathing and was feeling sick, and it was like, oh, I've just now exacerbated my lungs in a place that, I probably shouldn't have done that, being outside. And so it's like you can have created this, sort of environment. And then when you go and you dig deeper into the communities there, all of the services, all of the engagement are really driven by the buildings themselves. So people don't really venture out of their apartment complexes. All of the amenities are right on site. So you don't have a blending of communities. You don't have access to different types of communities. And also I think that there's a certain archetype of resident in Songdo. So you don't get a diversity of experience. You don't get a diversity of income. It seems very
it does
homogenous.
Sound a little creepy.
It's a little dystopian, and the buildings all look alike because they were designed to be all LEED certified, which is great. It's great because they are not adding to a lot of the pollution issues that face the region. But at the same time, when you're there, you question how smart it is because of the feel that you get. Um, and that it shifted a little bit at night, where it came alive a little bit in certain pockets, but it was outside kind of the framework I think that the city itself was designed around.
Okay, um, so then, quickly, for the people who are, say, the CIO of a city, right now, how would you recommend that they go about this differently?
So, the first thing is you have to engage people in planning. And I think that what we often try to do is we hear the same voices a lot in city halls. We hear the same, if you only have one mechanism for drawing the attention of the public or getting public input into your processes, then you will oftentimes only get one perspective or hear the same voices over and over again. So you have to be creative about the way that you understand the problems that are being faced, and you have to understand that that data can be an instrumental piece of the problems that you're trying to solve, but the way that you design interventions and the way that you think about your problem solving should be very responsive, and it should be done cooperatively with people that live in your city, and you should not necessarily think technology is always the first answer. It should be a tool amongst many.
Sounds like good advice. And I think I'd rather go to a smart Vienna before I go to Songdo, but I think I am curious. Beth, thank you so much.
Yep,
It's been
thanks
a pleasure
for having
you here.
Yep.
It's Beth Blauer. Stay with us, and don't forget that IW News Desk hashtag I mentioned. More from Interop after this.